Welcome to another episode of Share Your Story with Chet. Very excited today. I have Imran today, and Imran is somebody I connected because I really resonated with his content. And I was watching his content on LinkedIn, and I was like, how the hell does this guy write so well? And I had no idea about him, right? And that's what really drew me to him because his content was so good, so well written. But if you don't know about Imran, he's a writer, he's a blogger, he's a journalist or an ex-journalist at least. He's a mentor. He's really mentoring a lot of people as well. Has a lot to know about him, but he runs an agency for personal branding and SEO, and he's based in Pakistan. So it's a pretty unique profile that he's doing, and I don't know if too many people are doing what you're doing in terms of personal branding as well. But we'll talk about a few things as we go. So Imran, I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit, and then I'm going to start asking you a few questions and make life easier for everybody as well. So take it away.
Thank you for having me. Well, I started as a journalist, and it was long time ago. I believe now it's like a decade ago. So when I started as a journalist, I started as a reporter, writer, and then I started my weekly magazine. So that was the first thing I did, and then I worked with Pakistan's national newspapers. Then soon they all became like digital newspapers, and then they actually started their own media houses, their TVs, and their digital streamings and everything. Then I actually got into copywriting, and then strategy, and then branding and marketing, and then now personal branding and storytelling. So this is my journey from journalist to a branding person or a storyteller.
Awesome, man. There's so much. And, I love how you've come through your journey and you've gone into personal branding, obviously, because, and LinkedIn, and I say that because you're in a place which is not very big in terms of marketing and running marketing agencies and personal branding. So yeah, it's awesome what you've been able to achieve so far. Cool. Now I really want to talk about something, Imran, and I have bought your book. You've just launched a book, which is 100 Simple Steps to Building a Personal Brand. I bought the book. I went through it. And when you say 100 simple steps, it is actually the easiest steps for anybody starting out. It's just easy stuff that they can start doing. And I really like that book because you've simplified it so much. You've got rid of all the complications and the jargons and everything. And I could give it to a 15-year-old tomorrow starting out on the platform, and he will be like, okay, I can pick certain steps that I know of. So what made you actually write this book? I'm very curious, and tell me a little bit about the book because it's going to make so many people's life easy. So tell me a little bit about the book, man.
Okay, so I wanted to write something for LinkedIn, and the initial thinking was like maybe something on branding and strategy because that's what I was doing before personal branding. But what happened, I launched a course, and in that course, by the way, I do this course on digital marketing very regularly. I was doing that on Facebook, and then I actually shifted that on LinkedIn. And during that course, one of the sessions was how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. So that was the session everyone was interested in. So this was the one reason, and the other reason was obviously I am doing consultancy coaching on LinkedIn, and I do have clients here. So this is a sort of FAQ how to build a personal brand on LinkedIn, how to do this, how to do that, how to build your brand strategy, how to do your content strategy, how to do your growth strategy, and how to do your networking strategy. So I took those 4 strategies and simplified them into 100 simple steps, as if I am explaining them to my younger brother or maybe my cousin or my mom, that this is how you use LinkedIn and build your personal brand.
Absolutely. Simplifying the overcomplicated, that's what I could pick up from the book. And I really liked it just for the reason because I could literally pick up the steps and implement them. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I was looking at it from that angle. That's awesome. So, guys, if you haven't, or if you want to know how to start your personal brand journey or simplify your own journey, then this is definitely a great book to pick up. You can visit Imran in his profile, and he's got a link for his book as well. Awesome, Imran. So, Imran, tell me again now, what was the first year for you doing what you're doing now? Like you're doing personal branding for people, right? I want to know the first startup year when you started this concept of personal branding from your end. What was it like? It obviously wasn't easy. It was something unique in place you're at and getting clients. So what was it like? I just want to understand the first year, the hardship or the easy parts. What was it like?
Okay, so I always had this thing in my mind that one day I will be able to help people with their personal branding. So my interest actually started in personal branding when I was a student, and my fellows, they used to bring their resumes, their CVs to me, and like, how does it look and how can we improve it? So that was like many years ago. So that was the first point, but I had this thing in my mind, like one day I will start this, and this I knew that that's where I am going. But I did not start personal branding until very recently. So as you know, I was doing a copyright, I was running a copywriting agency, and it's still somewhere in its in its position. So I am giving my some of my time to copywriting and other stuff. But I had this thing in my mind. One day I will do personal branding, and all I was waiting to be credible enough to have some social proof to you see, to help you. I need to show you that I can help you, because if I have done something for me, I can do it for you, right? But
Absolutely.
if I claim that I can help you with your LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn is nowhere, okay, so you would ask, this is a natural question, so you would ask, like, if that guy is really that expert, why he can't help himself?
Makes so much sense. It's about walking the talk, literally. Like you can say everything you want to do, but are you doing it for yourself, or do you have proof to do it? And I like to do it in a way that I like to use my own content as proof, and exactly what you're doing, that's the best way. You can always show client
Yeah.
references, but hey, are you doing it for yourself? Are you offering me what you're doing? That really makes a difference. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. So I'm going to actually ask you, I had a question about your branding agency, obviously, but before that, I want to just understand your experience as a journalist. How does it come into play with what you're doing on LinkedIn? Because like I said, the way you write is what really resonated with me. You write amazingly. It's a skill that I'm working on, and I want to be there in time. But I guess being a journalist, did that really help you use that skill into doing what you're doing today? The way you write, the way you express your thoughts and your content?
Yeah, absolutely. So you see, we as a journalist are trying to write copy news that actually conveys the message instantly. So the lead, the structure, actually, the way journalists write, it actually it's a inverted pyramid structure. So it gives the most uh, valuable part to its audience first, and then it goes down. So for instance, if I have to report something, I would report the most significant incident, the most significant news first, and then I will go into the details. So this is actually the reverse structure, I would say, the way we are actually taught at schools. So in our schools or universities, colleges, we are instructed, we are taught to, we are actually trained to write something, write introduction first, and then body, and then conclude. Well, in journalism, you conclude first. You give your audience, your readers, the most significant part first, so that that in marketing we call it the hook. So first you have to hook their attention. So once you succeed in that, it becomes a lot easier to have them for the rest of your article or your piece. So that helped me, because in journalism you learn how to write brief, how to write short, how to write to the point, no fluff, no nothing. So just straight away conveying your message, like from one point to another, so from you to your audience. So well, once you learn this thing, it becomes a lot easier to give your reader the most significant thing you have first, and then the lesser significant things, they take place second, third, fourth, so on and so forth. So there is no conclusion actually in general. So there is only like the lead, and then it goes down the inverted pyramid. So I shared a lot of content on inverted pyramid, how journalists are trained, how you can actually learn this structure.
Right. And it's so interesting because we talk about the hook in the modern version because that's what we think marketing is all about. But the hook is in any kind of advertising. And, looking from a journalist point of view, I guess all your content in newspapers or online, everything has to have a hook. Otherwise, people are just going to overlook it and go away.
We call it lead, so or the headline. So there is a rule in journalism, like give your 80% time and energy to the headline.
Right.
So
True.
your reader should not miss it, because if your reader misses the headline, so there's no use of the body copy or anything you write after your headline.
Well said, man. It's something to think about for a lot of people. And we don't come from a journalism background, so we don't think about things. We just know modern way of hook and headline, right? And the body. Awesome, man. Thank you for that. So I want to also ask you now, just going back to your personal branding, you use the word I hope I get it right, but digital chieftains, right? Which is like a modern version of what I assume people in the villages and all were, or different places being the chiefs, right? So tell me a little bit about this. It's a very cool concept that you have.
Yeah, okay. So Branded Chief is like my agency, and the thought behind this naming was, you see, in old ages, we were living in tribes. So every tribe has had its own chieftain. So that chieftain had its branding. So you see, he was recognizable. He has his persona. He has his style. So he or she, whoever the chieftain was, mostly he. So when the industrial revolution came, so that chieftain thing, that tribal thing, that actually dissolved into this free market, and people started becoming like people all around the world. They became like masses, and then there were elite and then masses. So we don't see the tribal thing anymore. So things became like when digitalization came into, and now I feel like I have more power than the chieftain.
Absolutely, because you have more reach to everybody now versus what they had before.
I have smarter tools. I have like luxurious lifestyle. So then a king or a tribal chief maybe 2000 to 100 years ago. So the idea is behind the branded chief is like to actually equip people with their identity, their brand in the digital age. So that the identity they have dissolved, because if you don't have identity, you cannot lead people. If you are not if you can't stand up, you can't actually lead people. So you to lead people, you have to stand up and stand out. So that's the significant uh, uh, the feature or part of a chief's personality.
Yeah.
So that
Mm.
is actually the thought behind branded chief.
And that's an awesome selling concept as well, right? Like you when you give a name, you resonate with it. Like, I gave myself Chet a name and marketing by Chet, and I resonate with it. And that's, you say you're a chieftain and then you're building a personal brand. So that's a really great way to resonate with yourself. And if you can't walk the talk with your own brand, then I think you already lose out on a lot of things. That's a very cool concept.
True.
Yeah.
So okay, so one more thing. So I believe the person, so sorry, so maybe I'm not like, there are a lot of things in my head
That's all
about
right.
branded chief.
Yeah.
I believe, like, okay, so you are in marketing and there are like a million people in marketing. Okay. So how do you stand out?
How do you differentiate?
That's
Mhm.
branding. So you are a branded chief if they recognize you. So being chief is not enough. You
Right.
see,
You got to have
being
a
chief
brand, right?
is
They got
not.
to know what sort of chief are you. Like,
So everyone is a chieftain now. Everyone has the smartphone, gadgets, technology. No one is listening to no one. So we are not obeying the chief anymore, the
right.
tribal chief. We are not obeying the chief anymore. So
Yeah.
we all are chief. We all are leaders. But who is a branded chief? Who is a better leader? Who is a better branded leader? So people automatically, so the permission marketing, the respect marketing, the authority marketing, so the terms like these.
Right.
So they obey you by their will, not by your command or like some obligation. So if you are a branded chief, if you are a branded leader, chances are they will take you more seriously and follow you voluntarily.
Very well said, man. And yeah, it makes so much sense. So, you've given it a different name, but building your brand and being that authority, especially in 2021 and onwards, is so important, right? Like, and everyone's doing it, but it's how do you differentiate yourself? Because we're all doing something similar, right? It's always going to be, we're all doing personal branding, we're all doing marketing, we're all trying to run a startup, we're all into a SaaS company. But how do you make yourself
Yeah,
differences?
we
Yeah.
all are purple cows. Yeah,
Yeah,
Seth
we're all
Godin says.
in many
So
ways,
you
right?
have,
Yeah, absolutely.
so now every one of us is a purple cow. The
Or trying
point
to be
is,
at least, yeah.
are you a branded purple cow or not?
You're right.
Are you a branded purple cow?
That makes so much sense.
So
Very well
that's
said. Yeah,
another level of differentiating yourself
yeah,
from the rest, from competition.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost we take Seth Gordon and you put them into our minds, right? Permission marketing, you got the purple car, everything, and it makes so much sense. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a few different questions, right? But I guess before we move on to some more personalized questions about you, I want to know, how are you networking now versus before? And you're probably, again, you're sitting in a place where you don't have too many networking events. So you're networking online a lot. But have
Mhm.
things changed since COVID started? Or how is Imran networking? In not just LinkedIn, but in general as well, I would say.
Okay, I believe, okay, so before COVID, we were doing regularly. So before COVID, I was not that much active on LinkedIn.
Right.
Okay. So we were very regularly conducting workshops around copywriting, content writing, research, strategy, in our both free and paid. So
Right.
in working places, in libraries for free.
Mm.
For I was visiting schools, colleges, universities. So
Right.
mostly not schools, colleges, and universities for to actually inspire or give advice to younger writers or aspiring writers or journalists or copywriters. So that was one like venue of networking. The other was going into libraries, doing free workshops and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And the third one was like doing paid events at co-working places. And the fourth one was visiting different agencies. With COVID, actually everything stopped. So that was the point we started like networking on online and off, not offline as much. But last week I went to Karachi. Right now I'm like near Islamabad. It's like 100 kilometers from Islamabad.
Right.
So last week I spent in Karachi. So that was sort of like uh, uh, restarting the networking. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I think
that's
it's
how
all,
you
yeah.
yeah, that you are right. Yeah, here in our country, we don't have like maybe those mega events, but things have started changing. We have co-working spaces all over the Pakistan. In Islamabad, they are like growing like mushrooms. So
Mm.
everywhere and that's a good thing. In every sector, in every 1 to 3 kilometer, there is a co-working space, and in every co-working space there are people from IT, freelancers,
Mm.
like from different backgrounds, and they are constantly doing events, micro
Yeah.
events, small events. So I believe like in future we will again go out and resume what we were doing
Before.
before
Yeah.
the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was just talking to someone about the co-working space last week, and the whole conversation was about, when you want to network with the right people, you can either sit at home as most people are sitting, or you can start making the effort and going with like-minded people, whether be from different
Yeah.
industries. But that motivation and just listening to ideas and talking to people is really going to help you open up your mind as well. And I'm very, very surprised, to be honest, about co-working spaces in Pakistan, because I wasn't sure about them. So yeah, that's great information. I've written down a couple of questions that I was very interested to ask you. Now, based on what you were just saying, you always in our conversation before, and I know you make for students, you make the courses and everything so affordable, right? You can make more money of it, but you've purposely put the price so down and so affordable. Why? I mean, I know you're trying to help the community, but is there a bigger goal behind it? Like, why would you make things so affordable? What is the bigger goal?
Well, actually, this is very personal, not business. I was a student leader. You see, so in my university, I have a socialist background.
Right.
So I was into politics and everything like as a student politician, you may call you a student leader, and I came into business very late. So I feel like okay, I missed my like I should have been in business in my 20s. I was doing something that is like uh, I was more passionate about. Maybe learning about the society, changing the system, understanding the system, how it works, what is socialism, what is capitalism, why things happen, why is there like
Right.
poverty, why richness, so many things. Okay, so I am so inspired by socialist ideas, and I believe like okay, so uh, end of the day, how much money you earn, it doesn't matter. So you can take all of it or none of it with you.
Mhm.
So what matters is your legacy, what you leave behind. Okay, so I feel like uh, if I teach one person or empower one person or help one person, so that is my legacy. So how much money I leave my in my account, that's a no use. You see, so but I feel like you should have money enough to buy your needs, but not like greedy for money so that you forget living for a purpose.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, but it's also, I guess it's bigger impact, and the more and education moves the world, right? Like I think from any other social cause, I'm more towards education, just because if you can educate someone, they can make their own life. If you don't want to invest in them, they're stuck. So empowering them to make the next decision. So I really like that thing when you told me, and when you told me the price as well, I was a bit shocked coming from a South Asian country. I was like, wow, that is super affordable, right? But that's awesome, man. So really good on you for doing that. I think you're making the impact, and that's the thing, right? You inspire people, you mentor people, and you sort of move forward. Really awesome, man. Now let's take it to a different level, right? And Imran, in your life, obviously, what you're doing now and what you've done before, someone would have come to you and said, "What are you doing?" or "You can't do this," or "This is not possible." Let's just take Branded Chief, for example, because maybe people were like, I don't know if it's Branded Chief or something else. Somebody in your life has probably told you, "What the hell are you doing?" or "You can't do this." Uh, what was your reaction? Because you're, again, you're doing something very different. Have you had that?
Yeah.
Was that a situation ever for anything? Was it?
Yeah, when I started my copywriting agency, so I shared this with my two of my friends. So they said like, I even shared that thing on LinkedIn. Like they said it's stupid.
Okay.
It won't work. Okay, so they said like, obviously they were saying it out of concern. They were my friends, and then, but I felt that thing, and I I was like disappointed that okay, uh, but somehow I managed and made that thing work. Okay, so that the copywriting agency was not a copywriting agency at the first place. So I kept on actually positioning, repositioning, and repositioning, and until I found the niche that okay, this is what we are going to do from now on. So I started that okay as like I didn't have a background, or I didn't have a team that had a background in running an agency. So we started a copywriting agency, and it was like the first copywriting agency in Islamabad, as far as I know, and I haven't seen one in Lahore, Karachi, or a dedicated copywriting agency. There are agencies, they were doing like marketing, they were doing coding, WordPress, and other things, but not only copywriting. So yeah, I had like these difficulties. My friends told me like, okay, this won't work, and you should get a job, a proper job, and don't waste your time. By the way, in my 10 20 10 12 years of working, I never had a proper job until uh, uh, I started working at S&P Global Market Intelligence. That was like for a brief period, 1 year or so. But okay, so they encouraged me. They asked me. They actually pushed me to get a proper job.
Right.
So that they believed like this won't work. But I, on the other hand, I believe that okay, this will work, and I will make it work, because okay, maybe at this point, from the angle they are seeing it, it won't work, but I am the one who is driving it, and I can always turn the wheel. I can always make the changes, and I did that. I repositioned that, and somehow that thing actually uh, helped me survive my all those years.
That's
So
amazing, man.
I
Like,
I
yeah.
I made my base and networking and got clients and worked and did a lot of things. So yeah, that worked. But obviously, if someone comes to me today and tells me like, okay, oh, friend chief, okay, are you kidding me? This won't work. I would say, okay.
Proved you
I
wrong.
don't it will work, and it's a long term game, and I know I started a copywriting agency, high writer, and for like 3 to 6 months I didn't have one client. Then After 6 months, I have like 2 3 clients. And in when I actually went into a partnership with another person, he's a designer. So we started another agency, it's a creative agency. So I believe before even starting our office, before even hiring a single employee, we got like 8 9 million worth of business.
Right.
So
Oh,
we
wow.
could not do that. Like we were like just 2 people, and we got like 4 5 clients. And eventually we had to like return their advances and money. But the point is like, okay, we were able to do that. And if someone comes to me today and tells me, okay, this is senseless, okay, this is nonsense, this won't work, I'll tell him like, okay, we'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe a year,
Uh,
2 years, or like 3 years.
hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's such a motivational story as well that you're putting out there, because again, it's when you're in a position where people are saying no, you can't, and you know that your surroundings and environment don't support you, but you're getting out of that hole and creating something else. So that's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of your students will be watching this, and they'll look up to you, right? Because a lot of people don't have the opportunities, and they're seeing somebody rise above. And why not, right? Something like was reading about Roger Moore the other day, and he broke the
Mm.
100 meters record, and then the whole world started
Mm.
following it because they want to see someone they can believe in, and then they can move forward. So I think you're one of those people, especially in the marketing front in Pakistan. So good on you, man. Really good. Awesome. All right. So let's go to another question now. Like, I want to, is there something in your personal or professional life that happened, or an experience that changed the direction of your life, where you were probably heading in one way, doing something, and because of that, you just did something else? Like, you ended up doing what you're doing today, or a situation maybe in business or personal that actually made you who you are today? You could have been somebody else,
Yeah.
but this is what you are today.
Yeah, actually, I was doing BSIT. I told you. So in my fifth semester, I quit my bachelor's in information technology. So the reason, there were like two reasons. One, I was like way into politics, so I never showed up in class, never like did anything on time, but somehow I still managed to got like for CGPA, like for first 4 semesters. So I
Right.
somehow passed them like decently. So that was the one thing, like, okay. And the other thing was like, I thought, why am I studying this? So that question. And then I quit my
Mhm.
BSIT in fifth semester. And that was the point when I took control of my life. So I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So that was the first time I thought like, okay, I'll study this, I will do this, and this is the life I want to live. So this is the direction I want to go in. So uh, that day I like went into international relations. I did my master's without even like getting a single book or studying, like, because that was like natural to me. I had a background in politics, so I was practically involved in politics. We were doing like discussion, debates all night, all day, on weekend study circles, and blah blah blah. So every month a conversation, every 15 days a
Mm.
conference, every week a study circle, every night there were like endless discussions and debates on world system, politics, international relations, Pakistan, India, Iran. So a lot of things. So when I went into like international relations, and I saw the syllabus and the content, and I said like, okay, I already know this. So
Why not? Right? Mm.
that's how I did my masters. And then obviously the natural progression was like MPhil international relations. By the way, I don't encourage people to go for like MPhil or PhD. So, but since it was like very easy for me. It wasn't costing much. It was like just a natural progression. I was doing things uh, uh, along the way. So I was working. So
Right.
I'm not. I wasn't studying full time. So I did masters and then went into MPhil International Relations, and then I passed that in like 2016. So and I was like, okay, I got like good CGPA 3.67. So okay, now what? Okay, let's do PhD. So I like entered into PhD, then I completed my coursework. And
Right.
since I
Mm.
had this political background, and then by this time, in 2018, 2019, I was well aware of Facebook and technology, Apple, Microsoft, and these big tech. So I thought, why not we should see the impact of this big tech on international politics? And that became my thesis.
Oh, wow.
So I started.
Mm.
So those two things, I linked them and presented as my synopsis, and it got approved. So that's how actually the
Yeah,
things
that is
go.
very interesting. Like I wouldn't even think about it, right? Like and to your point, I used to be so bad in school. I was so bad in school, and but I had made up my mind I'm not going to do an MBA, not because that's not me, but when I got into hospitality, everything was much easier. It was just I really enjoyed it, and that's why I went through it. I did a wine course and I did all that stuff, and hospitality was easy. But yeah,
Yeah.
you I guess living in today, you need to know if you enjoy it, you can do it. Otherwise, trying to do something which is not in
True.
if
Like
is of no
if
interest,
you
it's a
love
waste.
something, it won't feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
If you love something, it won't feel like you are studying. So let's say you love music and you are studying music.
It'll be a lot easier, right?
So obviously
Yeah.
would be listening to music all the time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It makes so much sense.
Is a different perspective. It's an educated point of view perspective to see. It's a new, fresh perspective to see at that thing what you are studying.
Right.
I was actually into that thing, and with all these degrees and education, it actually changed my perspective. So that's it. So you study
Absolutely.
for the perspective.
Right.
Otherwise, like I haven't earned a single penny out of my degrees. So like,
It totally makes a lot of
see,
sense. And yeah.
national relations, and I'm doing marketing, so branding and strategy and journalism. So that like these two are not related to each
Related.
other,
Yeah.
but somehow they are actually related to each other.
Because you're
It's
stacking your skills, right? That's what you're doing. You're using your skills from different places and working together. And what you're saying would be really important because I'm sure, like I said, you're a mentor and your students will be watching this. It's good for them to understand as well. And you're trying to actually tell them the reality of it. So yeah, that's a really awesome story, man. I love that part. Now tell me, have you so let's just take what you're doing now. Like you're doing marketing, branding, SEO, copywriting, whatever. Did you ever have a role model or somebody who was an inspiration? Because I'm just trying to understand how did you actually get into it? Like again, you're doing something totally different. You're doing international relations and all that. You discover a bit of Facebook, but again, you're in an environment that's not focusing on marketing as much as Western countries, right? And this I'm talking a
yeah.
few years ago. So what was it,
Mm.
or was it a person that suddenly you were like, no, I kind of want to do this. I want to be a marketer. Doesn't matter what, but I want to do something in this space. Was there somebody you looked up to or an inspiration or someone who played a part in your life?
Mm. So I would say maybe I was lucky or unlucky in this regard. I didn't have a role model.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, when you have a role model, you actually can very easily study their steps and follow them.
Right.
So it actually shortens your learning curve. So if I say I want to become like Chetan or Seth Godin or anyone else, okay, so what I'll do, I'll study their biography. I will see how they manage, how they did one thing to second thing and the third thing.
Right.
But unfortunately or fortunately, I didn't have a role model to look up. So maybe that was the reason it took me uh, longer than it should have, but I'm happy with this. So
As
yeah,
long as you're happy,
I did.
man. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Like when I moved into marketing as well, I was just discovering things. I was like, what am I going to do? What's next and all that. So I went through real estate and everything. And I was like, that's probably not me. That looks kind of boring. And then marketing came up, and what attracted me was the Facebook ads and everything. And I was like, maybe I'll do this. And it's only, I think, after 6 months of me starting my journey, which is not too long ago, I would say. But then I started discovering different people, all Seth Godin and all these other people online, and other people like Gary Vaynerchuk and all. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole different world out there. It took me some time, right? But yeah, I can totally relate to your story. I was just looking for change because of COVID, but you had different reasons. But that's awesome that you started
Yeah,
on yourself. I wouldn't even, like you said, when you have scarcity of agencies and people doing marketing, how would you think of starting something in those times, right? So very, very interesting, man. Um, and when I say this in a very different way, because I would say where you're sitting right now, the environment is very different to a Western or open country, right? So you've really crossed the barriers and all that. Really good, man. Now tell me something. Is there a story or something you can share with us that we don't know about Imran? Like, is there something you would like to share or you'd be able to share? And if not, it's all good. But is there something that we don't know about Imran, or people on LinkedIn or your students don't know about you? That because this is share your story, right? So I want to know, we're trying to figure out how you build yourself up and what you do, but is there something that you'll be able to let us know?
yeah. So there are actually a lot of things that I never shared on social media about my family, about my life. Recently, I started sharing about my son, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like now 6 months. And okay, so what people actually don't know is maybe some of my friends, they believe that okay, I'm doing PhD, this is like the highest degree and blah blah blah. So this is a prestigious thing to do. I don't believe in this. Uh, and they assume that it's natural. Okay, if someone is like a doctor, we assume that okay, they want their sons or daughters to be doctor.
Right.
Okay, so if someone is like doing PhD, maybe people think that okay, they want the same future for their kids. But I don't want this future, the life I had. I don't want this life for my son.
Absolutely.
So I even don't want to send him to school. So so far I so far I have like this thing in my mind. Okay, the day he will be able to go to school, I'll homeschool him.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Tell him things that matter, tell him, teach him how to read and write, and then leave it up to him, like whatever he does. So maybe this education we have today is more of like destruction, you know.
I
It actually
agree. Yeah.
destroys your creativity. So I believe like okay, earning a life, a living in today's age is not a problem. Okay, making a living is not a problem. So why not? We should make a living doing what we love.
Yeah, and get off the traditional method of,
Yeah.
well, you like
So
after going
why
to school, yeah, going to university versus.
the time you could have like
Mhm.
spent together, send him like school for 8 hours, and then send him like to the academy for another 3 hours, and then like, so this is very I would say disappointing. I see it like in my cousins, in my friends, so they are following the trend.
Mhm.
And whereas in next 20 years this education will
It's
be
be over.
obsolete.
Yeah,
it,
it's
it's
going away anyway
already
now. Yeah.
prove that the okay, see, look at me. Like I give this example to my family, to my cousins, to everyone. Okay, I am going to have this degree. I do have like MPhil and master's degree of international relations. If a degree cannot help you
Mhm.
if a degree cannot help you earn like bread for your family or for yourself, why would you waste your time? So first thing is make sure your survival. So first teach your kids your
how to be street smart, how to survive, right? Versus trying to tell them to get an MBA.
and then everything comes next. So
Mm.
once they know, I do have like fellows who are like retired army officers. So they survived as army officers. Now they are like, okay, entertaining themselves, educating, like doing PhDs or like going to enjoying college,
Right.
university degree. So
Yeah. No,
first thing I say,
this makes sense.
like,
Yeah.
don't put your kids into schools. Schools suck. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. And that's what people have been talking about. And now, especially because I think we know everything can be done from home. And you've got people teaching and educating you about life and other things. So it's so important, and so it's obviously up to the parents whether they want to send them or not. But yeah, it's worth to think because life is not the same as it was when we were young. It's not the same
Yeah.
when parents were young. And
It won't be same for like when they grow
absolutely,
up.
yeah, the generations keep changing. So, like I said, educate, but educate them and to be street smart and learn how to
Yeah,
survive. That's a
make
very
them
good point. Mm.
solve problems. So
Yeah,
having not having money is a problem. Teach them how to solve that problem.
absolutely.
Like having emotional stress or like anxiety, these are problems.
Yeah,
So teach them how to what to do when they face anxiety. So what is the way out? Should they go to a doctor? Should they do something else?
yeah. Live
So,
practically,
so
right? Yeah. Mm. Very nice.
not
Awesome.
everyone becomes a philosopher. You see,
No, true.
I
Makes
say
sense.
like these the higher education is not for everyone.
Hmm.
So maybe it wasn't for me, or maybe it wasn't for you. So
Yeah,
not everyone becomes philosopher. We don't need philosophers. Like we have philosophers, we need them, but we don't need like everyone philosopher.
the thing is,
You
in
see?
20 years from now, you can have a big degree, but if you don't have a job, and I know that for a fact,
Yeah.
like back home in India as well, there are a lot of people who are doing MBAs and all, and they don't have a
Yeah.
job. So they're stuck. So, but situation was that's what society always taught you. But in the modern day, as you can start, if you can start making them to think, then they can figure it out themselves. But if you're not going to let them
True.
have that mindset of thinking, they're
True.
stuck.
True. And you see, like, okay, we are skeptical. We see everything like, okay, we don't want to buy this thing. We don't want to buy.
Mm.
Okay, we normally don't buy things we don't need.
Right.
Then how come we buy a PhD degree or an MBA degree?
It's just society, right?
We don't buy it.
You're going
We
along
don't.
with what people are talking about and following the masses. Yeah.
Would you buy a laptop that does not work?
Right. Makes a lot of sense, man. Awesome.
So why would you buy an
Yeah.
MBA that does not?
But again, guys,
So
if you're
we
watching
need
this
to
podcast,
see.
we're not telling you not to do what you want, but we're just telling you, hey, be a bit more street smart
Yeah,
and world's changing,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Have a side hustle
exactly.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, do whatever. Like I say, do postdoc, do like education, do whatever you love, but do it consciously.
Yeah.
Don't buy what you don't need.
Well said. Do
Just
it
because like
consciously. Yeah.
what Chet would say, what Imran would say, what like Ali would say.
Right.
Don't think like that. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So I guess this would also be your one piece of advice for someone following your path. Like, I guess this is what you want them to know, right? Like, do what you want to do. And what would that one piece of advice in your words be to somebody who's following your path or someone who's starting out or someone trying to move forward?
Well, I would say don't follow me or don't follow Chet or don't follow anyone. Because you see, our lives are so different on micro levels, on macro levels.
Right.
We have different backgrounds, we have different families, we have different circumstances, we have different emotions, and within our body, like we have different level of intelligence, we have different sort of chemicals and everything in our head. So when once you start following someone, you want to be like them.
Yeah.
And during that, you actually shed your identity. You try to become someone else, and you actually lose what you are. So I would say you can take inspiration
Mhm.
from anyone, but do not follow blindly. Even at the end of that 100 simple steps to build your personal brand on LinkedIn,
Right.
the last advice, the last step is do not follow blindly.
Mhm.
That is what I have done for myself. That is what I have done for my clients, and it worked. But there are chances that it does not work for you. Maybe some point does not work for you.
Mhm.
Maybe a particular step does not work for you. So follow, but do not follow blindly. Take inspiration and create your life.
Be your own purple cow. Let me say that,
Be
right?
your own, be your own branded purple cow.
True. Be your own branded purple cow. Really well said, man. All right. So I'm going to end this session with one last question, which is, if I have to tell you, and if you can, just summarize your life till now and tell me where you're heading next, or what's next, or what's the big plan, personally or professionally, whatever, doesn't really matter. But if you just summarize something.
Hmm. So I would say, if I summarize my life, it's like I lived, I would say, obviously, I am biased towards my decisions and my life
Mhm.
and my approach to that life. So I would say I lived artistically. So living artistically is uh, finding solutions, facing problems that most people don't face, and finding solutions that most people fail to find. So when you live differently, you face different problems.
Mm.
When you live like everyone else is living, you face problems that everyone else is facing.
Right.
So when you live differently, you face different sort of problems, but you obviously get different kind of reward. So this is what I have lived so far. And for next, I don't have uh, like goals or concrete plans, like what exactly I want to do, get out of life. But I want to live the way I have lived, living artistically, expecting
So you want to
not
continue
that
that
much.
journey, right? Mm.
Yeah, just
That's
continue the
awesome.
flow. Yeah,
Oh, that
living the
makes
way I have
sense.
lived.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. That was really good. It was really good having you on. And obviously, an Indian and a Pakistani sitting in this is always a special one. Someone sitting in Pakistan, someone from India. We know you're from
Yeah,
different places, but yeah, it was awesome having you, man. And I hope, your book does very well and your students keep sort of getting motivated, and that's the best thing. So, thank you so much for coming on to share your story, Imran. Thank you so much, man.